when you go on the break.
Starting back in 5, 4, 3, 2. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another round of Spot on Sport. It is the new wave of sports that is sweeping the nation, powered by Geek Leaks and Danny Martin. Come, compete, conquer. Yes, it is your host with the most, Tony Monk, bringing you the sports in Week 15 and Week 16 of the NFL. Got a couple of NFL playoff picture scenarios, some talk to get into. Got a little NBA. We got John from Caesar's Corner joining us today at 8 p.m. Okay, he'll be coming on. Longtime friend of the show, longtime friend of me, of mine. Went to school with this guy, so he's definitely conversed in his basketball and sports and whatever else. I've been kind of trying to sign this guy to a massive contract with Spot on Sports for the longest, but he keeps denying me. But a couple of things on my mind, okay? A lot of things on my mind actually coming from this past weekend and watching all of these NFL games that did happen. I want to start with the Cowboy fans, all right? We're all a little anxious right now. We're all a little ruffled feathers, okay? Our feathers are a little ruffled because we were shut out by the Indianapolis Colts. I will tell you why having 0 points on the scoreboard isn't necessarily a bad thing, and also why the Cowboys will still win the NFC East. All this hope is not lost. It's just one game. I'll start with this, okay? I'll start with the playoff teams to beat. We have teams like the Bears, the Titans, the Colts, the Vikings. Seattle didn't make it out alive. Cam and the Panthers only losing to the Saints by 3 points. Philadelphia keeping their hopes alive against LA. The LA Chargers. See, I called them San Diego last week, D. I called them San Diego last week, and I got snake bitten because of it. But regardless, we're gonna get into what a couple of these teams are doing. When it's late in the season, teams tend to play games much like we all saw last week. Short games, only by 3 points. Teams barely skating by. The teams that are trying to sneak into the playoffs tend to jump over the obstacle that is the teams that's already standing in their way. Much like the Eagles and the Rams, okay? There are consensus out on Jared Goff right now because of how he's been playing the last couple of weeks. Granted, Philadelphia just had a really good game plan. I told everyone last week, there is no home field advantage in LA. That's not happening. Why? Because it's not their stadium. Who doesn't want to go play playoff football in 80-degree weather? All Philadelphia had to do was come with a game plan and execute. A lot of people are starting to figure out Sean McVay's offense. They're struggling without Cooper Kupp. Teams are kind of biting down on Todd Gurley a little more. They're not exposing Jared Goff, but they're finding out ways to rattle him. And that's what's counting the most. I want to start with the Bears and the Packers because I honestly thought Aaron Rodgers would go to Soldier Field. I thought he'd do it. I'm gonna be honest with you. I thought if Aaron Rodgers says that I want to get into the playoffs, who's going to stop Aaron Rodgers from getting into the playoffs? But the Bears, obviously, with this titanic, monstrous defense, opportunistic. Okay, remember, opportunistic defense. They stifled Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. And kudos to them for getting it right. Aaron Rodgers was 25 of 42 for 274 and an interception. He didn't even score. They held the running game under 100 yards. Mitch Trubisky was almost picture perfect. 28 of 20, 235 and 2 touchdowns. They did run the ball somewhat. Jordan Howard had 60 yards. Tariq Cohen had 21. Allen Robinson with 54 receiving yards. Adam Shaheen with 39. Trey Burton pitched in. Taylor Gabriel pitched in. And Tariq Cohen per usual. That is the Bears offense. Just enough to get it done. They're Matt Nagy's rendition of the Chiefs offense. They're applying the pressure. Once their defense applies the pressure, they can score as their defense can score. And that's why teams like the Packers come in and they become unsuccessful, even if it is Aaron Rodgers. Because I said this last week, no one wants to go to Soldier Field to take on the Bears. You don't want to do that. I don't care if you're the Rams. We saw what happened there. I don't care if you're New Orleans. New Orleans can't go to Soldier Field and beat the Bears. The Cowboys don't want to go to Soldier Field and beat the Bears. That's not what these teams want. Later on, I'm looking at the scores of the Redskins. And speaking of the Eagles and Rams, two teams that kept their NFC hopes alive. Their NFC East hopes alive, while the Cowboys, seemingly everything went wrong for them. I'll get into that game, and then I'll get into more as far as the Cowboys and what they need to do in the season later on in the show, and when we bring John on. Andrew Luck, man, and I said this in one of the Monk Spot Game Day preview videos that the only hope I have for him, because the arrow for Luck wasn't pointing up at the time, was that he could just stay healthy. But here's the big thing: this guy is healthy. Okay? He's throwing touchdowns. About 34, 36 on the season. He looks like the Andrew Luck that led the Colts to 3 straight 11-5 football seasons before he got hurt. The line got good. When guys, but see, and this is what fans do. We wait till the draft come around and we bash on our teams to draft the linemen because they aren't the pretty pick, the flashy pick. But as soon as these guys start gelling, and mind you, they have 2 rookies on the offensive line. Quentin Nelson, who is a potential offensive rookie of the year. And they have this other guy at right tackle who I can't name him. I can't. But he's good. Then it's the other guy they have across the line that are protecting Andrew Luck. The guy hasn't been sacked in 3 games. He's been sacked 16 times on the season. And this took place while they were 1-5. And mind you, before we say, man, yeah, the Colts did shut out the Cowboys, the Colts didn't score against the Jaguars about 2 weeks ago. Let's talk about that. That was a 6 game? They kept Andrew Luck out of the end zone. And then the Colts come back. And then they beat a surging Texans team that had won 9-10 straight games. Meanwhile, Dallas on the other side is in the fight of their life every week. They come through 5 straight games. They beat the Falcons, beat Philadelphia, beat the Saints. And then they come and they lay an egg up in Indianapolis. Do you know why? Because the Cowboys were in the I think you call it the catbird seat. Or just say, let's just say they're front runners. They were front runners. So it's easy to rest on your laurels while a team like the Indianapolis Colts at the time last week were not in the playoff picture. They were in the hunt, but not in the actual seeding for the playoffs. A team like that with their backs against the wall, I would imagine a team like them win. In fact, I had the Cowboys pick to lose that game. Straight up. I did. And they showed me every single reason why. Because they came out, the defense, albeit held them to about 23 points. Oh, yeah, about 23 points. But here's the issue with the Cowboys. They were exposed offensively. They couldn't make it happen. They couldn't score in the red zone. They had a wide open touchdown to Olawale, the fullback, who's only had 2 passes thrown his way. He caught both of them. But only had 2 passes thrown his way the entire season. Comes out in week 11 and he drops it. He drops it. You see, the Cowboys are going to have issues when they get ready to go on the road after their first matchup, which will be in the wild card, probably against a team like Seattle. Lo and behold, the Vikings ends up getting switched and they play the Vikings. They have to find ways to score points. But I want to bring the Colts back into this. A team like them who was left for dead after starting off 1-5, and then they reel off an insane amount of wins. They're still surging, and they're going to be a threat in the AFC playoff race. Because when you look at the New England Patriots that fell to 9-5, to the Pittsburgh Steelers 17-10, vulnerable, as I told you, but I still believe in Tom Brady and Bill Belichick in the playoffs. I still do. Until the Patriots give me a reason not to believe in them, I don't see why I cannot believe in them. The Steelers are going to be there, as we said. We see the Chiefs. We see the Texans. You could possibly put the Colts in there. Look at the Titans right behind them. We're in for a very, very interesting playoff race. Because I think for the first time in a long time, the stage is even. The teams are kind of even keeled. The Saints are no longer blowing teams out by 30. The Rams are no longer blowing teams out by 30. The Rams just lost at home. The Saints barely got over the hump of the Panthers in an away game. In which there's some question that Drew Brees may not be the same on the road, which is kind of true. Because at one point in that game yesterday, he missed at least 11 passes in a row before he connected 11 more in a row. There's a lot of intangibles, is all I'm saying. Coming up next on Spot on Sports, I get into some more games that happened over the week. Kind of want to get into this whole Philly and Rams thing. Kind of want to talk more as far as the Colts. Kind of want to get into the Seahawks loss to the 49ers. That was a great game. This is Spot on Sports. We'll be back in a moment. Welcome back to the new wave of sports that is sweeping the nation, where we're not just accurate, But spot on, you feel me? The spot on sports, man. Welcome back, everyone. When I last left, of course, it was just a couple of minutes ago. We was getting into a couple of games that happened in Week 15. Coming up at 8 o'clock, we got my man John with Caesar's Corner coming. We'll be talking some football, talking some NBA, talking a little soon. So, you feel me? But getting into this Seahawks and 49ers game, that was a good division game. I want to start there. Kudos to the 49ers for being in dogfights week in and week out. A 4-10 team. Your quarterback is hurt. He was out for the season weeks ago. And you're still putting the pressure on these playoff caliber teams like the Seahawks. And there wasn't even a lot of things that went wrong for Seattle. Russell was Russell. A lot better than what he was against the Vikings. 31 of 23, 237, and 2 touchdowns. Chris Carson ran over 100 yards. How good has this kid been the last couple of weeks? He's been really good. I like Chris Carson. He's got a nice size, got a nice frame. Doug Baldwin returned. Okay, I let him go off my fantasy, so he kind of pissed me off a little bit. I was a little upset that he ends up coming in for 4 for 77 yards, but he scored 2 touchdowns. These guys are killing me on my fantasy, which everyone who is watching this right now, I did win. I'm still in it, in the playoffs, baby. Check out your boy T-Mon. But back to Seattle. They lost. Dallas lost. The Rams lost. 3 playoff teams that lost. Let's not just put the microscope on the Cowboys for failing to score a touchdown. Let's put the microscope on all the playoff teams that suffer losses. Let's put the microscope on the Patriots. Let's put the microscope on what the Steelers have been doing a couple weeks. This is crunch time. And if you're already in the playoffs, you're fighting for a seed. That's the most important thing you can have right now, is the seed when you're in the playoffs. Whether you're first, second, third, or fourth. Either on home field advantage or to get lucky and hopefully face a team that you know you have a good chance against. I expressed last week why I wouldn't want a team like the Cowboys to be playing a team like the Bears or the Seattle. Cowboy fans' best bet is for them in Minnesota to swap sides and you end up playing the Minnesota Vikings at home. Because Kirk third cousins, 10th cousin, whichever cousin you want to call him, he works for the Cowboys. Secretly staffed. They've been feeding this guy's pockets for the last couple of years because the only thing he happens to do is just do good things for the Cowboys. Kirk hasn't changed. We've seen that. Kirk is still the same Kirk Cousins that or who he was with the Redskins and the reason why they didn't pay him. It's the same Kirk. And I just had to get a couple of thoughts off Week 15 off my chest. You guys, we were in for a really good game. And I also want to kind of get into the matchups for Week 16. With Lamar Jackson and Baker Mayfield. And how good the Browns can or can't be. I'm going to go off shortly, but when we return... Actually, no, we're not going off right now. We still got some time. John doesn't come on to 8 o'clock. I want to get into... Find this next game, guys. Give me a second. I want to get into this Texans and Jets game. And I also want to touch on the Chargers and Chiefs. Let me touch on the Chargers and Chiefs. Because I was willing for the Chargers to beat Pat Mahomes. And let me tell you why. Because a lot of us, we spent the last couple, especially the last couple weeks when they had that 54, 5100 game that they scored all these offensive points. I can't stand that stuff. Because it's disrespectful to defenses that let you slap 50 points on them. Now, albeit Pat Mahomes did score 28. But I like I told you, a savvy vet like Phillip Rivers that can stay in it and win these types of games when a guy like Pat Mahomes begins to make mistakes. He didn't throw an interception. Okay, they looked good offensively, but stats don't always tell it. Stats don't always tell it. Pat Mahomes was 34, 24 for 243 and 2 touchdowns. Let me tell you what the downfall is going to be, and we know it's so obvious. It's the fact that they will no longer have Kareem Hunt. Damian Williams, good kid. I like him. 10 for 49, 2 touchdowns, but that will not suffice when the playoffs roll around, and these teams need a running game to get out. The Chiefs don't have that. They're one-dimensional now. They're relying solely on the passing game. What are you going to do when you run up against a team like the Patriots that's going to take away your best weapon now, which is solely Tyreek Hill? Travis, okay, but tight ends aren't winning Super Bowls, aren't winning playoff games. There are going to be issues when the Chiefs get ready to step into the fray and get ready to see the Chargers again. Because albeit that Phillip Rivers has not won, he's been to the playoffs. I already told you guys, Andy Reid is not a playoff guy. He's about 500. He's been, but he's not a playoff guy. Jonah helped me touch more on that when we return here on Spot on Sports, powered by Geek Leaks. Come compete, conquer. We'll return in a moment. We return here on SOS Nation, the podcast that is a part of Spot on Sports, the new wave of sports that is sweeping the nation. This podcast is powered by Geek Leaks. Come compete, conquer. Shout out to Danny Martin, man. He's been doing his thing. The Innovator of the Year, the cosign award went out to him this year. So shout out to that man and all the good things that he is doing with Geek Leaks. On the line right now, we got an old friend of mine, man, an old voice of the show, my man John. John, how you doing, man?
Good, man. Good. How you doing?
Oh man, it's good to hear from you, dude. I know you out there being a superstar and out there around the Texas State areas, dog. But you know you're graduating, you're doing big things out there, man.
Appreciate. I wouldn't say superstar, man. Appreciate
I always feel like you're a superstar every time you jump on the show with me, man. Because you know I've been trying to sign you to this lucrative Spot on Sports deal, but you won't sign, man. You acting like Le'Veon Bell. How much do I gotta pay you?
Everybody has a price. There's a right price for everything.
Yeah, I know it's easy to be modest right now, but speaking of modesty, I wanna take it to the NBA right quick, John, before we move into some things over the NFL. Within the Western Conference, we look at teams, surprise teams actually, like the Nuggets and the Mavericks. I want to start with the Nuggets being 20-9. What's the number one thing that's jumped out to you about them?
Well, to me, with the Nuggets, I think you can't talk about the Nuggets without talking about Nikola Jokic first. I think he's just probably, at this point, the most versatile big man in the NBA. The way he's able to pass, the way he's able to dominate in the post, obviously rebound, shoot from distance. He's just a threat from anywhere on the floor. And then you look at their depth. They have a lot of depth. They have a lot of good young point guards. I think Jamal Murray will be a star in this league one day. But Gary Harris, Isaiah Thomas, they just have a lot of really good young and old players, a good mix of veteran players and young players, and a lot of depth. And I think they play really good defense as well. I think that was their Achilles heel last year. Where they weren't really playing a lot of defense. So they play up tempo, a lot of pace, but I think now they're starting to actually lock down and become a complete basketball team. But yeah, they have been one of the surprise teams in the West, definitely.
I had the Nuggets really pinned in to really battle the Mavs for the 8th seed in the West. But when we're looking at the Nuggets, and one thing that you as a true basketball head can relate to is that things tend to heat up after All-Star Weekend. Do we expect the Nuggets to maintain position, even though they have the Warriors, Thunder, and Lakers right behind them?
Well, I think if you look at the Western Conference right now, I mean, there's a lot of teams that are just kind of jam-packed in there. I mean, even like you got teams like the Rockets and the Jazz last year that were dominating, that aren't even in the top 8 right now. So, just the way that the playoffs is set up in the West right now, with the difference between the 1 seed and the 10th seed being only a difference of about 4 or 5 games, I think we can see a lot of shakeup, and we will see a lot of shakeup after the All-Star break. I'm loving the way the Rockets have been playing lately. James Harden's just playing out of his mind.
Right, 50 points a game, yeah.
Figure it out. They're a great defensive team. So, and then you got some surprise teams in there like the Clippers, the Grizzlies. We don't know if they'll be able to maintain the momentum that they have right now this entire season. Like these are teams that we didn't even think to see in the top 8 before the season started. So, I definitely think there will be a lot of shakeup in the West, especially since all those positions right now are very close. I think, like I said, I think the Rockets will make their way back in there at some point. So I do think we'll see a lot of shakeup, but I do think that the Nuggets as well are for real. And I think the Nuggets will make one of those spots, and they'll be a tough team to play in the playoffs.
Well, I guess it would be disrespectful for me to even let you continue the conversation over basketball without talking about the King and LeBron. 18-12 this season, 7-3 in their last 10 games. Could expectations somewhat rise for LeBron? And I'm saying that because we don't expect them to win it this year. We know that the Warriors are somehow this impenetrable offensive juggernaut team that doesn't seem to be able to lose when the lights become super bright in the playoffs. But is there a sense of that LeBron could possibly get it this year if the West allows it?
I definitely think the Lakers have been surprising too. If you look at any LeBron team that he's been on when he started a new team, they always kind of started off slow. So to see 18-12 is kind of surprising. But I think what kind of helps them is also what hurts them. They don't really have a second star to support LeBron. So right. A lot of times LeBron just has to take over, and a lot of times he kind of, even though I'm a little partial, I think that Kevin Durant at this point is the best basketball player in the NBA. LeBron still shows us why he's one of the greatest players of all time.
Right.
Night out.
And
he takes over the game, and he'll give give you that 28, 9-9 or whatever it is. But I like the way that they're playing. They're playing really unselfish basketball. They push the pace a lot. They were shooting. They weren't shooting too well from the three earlier in the season. They've vastly improved their 3-point percentage. They're still the worst free throw teams in the league, though, so they're going to have to work on that. But I just like the business run that's dominating the round of a young Kobe.
John, you still with us?
Willing to take the shot, willing to be, to be that closer and have that Mamba mentality in those closing moments. I'm a huge Lonzo Ball fan. I love his development. I love how comfortable he's looking playing with, playing off of LeBron, but still being kind of like that key facilitator. I think, bringing Rondo in kind of studied his growth a little bit, but since Rondo's been out, he's been able to step it up. I saw today in the game tonight that they're playing right now, he had 11 first quarter points. In a lot of games, he doesn't even have 11 points, period. So, he's coming along nicely. I have been disappointed in Brandon Ingram. I thought Brandon Ingram would take that next step this year.
Right.
And it doesn't seem like he has. So, I think, you can look for him to be a key piece in some trade packages next year.
Gotcha. I wanted to know because we heard Magic talk about what fairly recently that he kind of didn't want them to take the same route that the Cavs took as far as overusing LeBron. But is there a way to is there not really a way to avoid that? Like, because we know when LeBron is being overused, the team he's playing with is very good and very competitive.
Yeah, I think with any LeBron team, there's always going to be successful. But those Heat teams, and you look at those Cavs teams when he went back, he was able to not be not lead the league in usage. I think right now he's up there, leading the league in usage rate. I think when you have Kyrie or when you have a Dwayne Wade, when you have another player that can dominate the ball, kind of take, allow LeBron to take some offensive positions off, take the ball and kind of go get their own shot and do their own thing. You know what I mean? Where you had Dwayne Wade, or he could take the ball and he could go get 30 tonight. Kyrie could take the ball and he could go get 30 tonight. He really doesn't have that option on this Lakers team, and that's why he's kind of having to find himself be a little bit more dominant than he wants to. I think if they can bring in another player that can, kind of take the pressure off of LeBron from the wing and kind of playing that Kyrie or that Dwayne Wade role, then he can. But I think right now, what he wanted to kind of do was, or what it seemed like his approach was at the beginning of the season, was to kind of scale back, kind of be more of a facilitator, not be too much LeBron, and let these young cats kind of, grow and develop into those roles. But I think that he realized that, their development would be a little bit slower, especially playing off of him. I think that's kind of why he stepped up and been more dominant. But so now you're starting to kind of see like them play the kind of style that the Cavs played without Kyrie, which is like LeBron is kind of the ball dominant. He penetrates the lane and you have shooters around.
Right. I want to move to the Mavericks before I move to what's going on in the Eastern Conference. How good is this kid Luka Doncic?
Luka Doncic is great. Obviously he's the front runner for Rookie of the Year right now. I said it when the Hawks made the trade. I said that they're going to regret this. I was never a big fan of Trae Young coming out, especially the Steph comparison. I know that he did lead, the NCAA in points and assists last year, but so many down the stretch, especially in some games, he was shut out or he was shoot. Just egregious strength players. When you look at Luka Doncic, he was able to play overseas against grown men as a 19-year-old. Winning MVP awards.
Right.
Different games like that. He was a man among boys, coming over there. And I knew that the Hawks, when they had the potential, they had the opportunity to take him in the draft and they didn't. Just for a Trae Young and an extra first-round pick, I just didn't think that was smart. And now you're seeing Luke on a night in and night basis prove why he should have been the number one pick in the draft. He's playing exceptionally well. He's third in the league right now in step-back threes, so he's kind of pending that move behind LeBron and James Harden. But he just plays with confidence on a swagger, that you kind of want from your point guard. And I love the way that Rick Carlisle was able to make it work with Dennis Smith Jr. playing off of Luka Doncic.
Yeah.
But he just looks like an all-around player, and he's definitely going to be a star in this league now. And Dallas got to deal with that one. The fact that he was still, there at 5.
John, really quick before we move to the NFL, I want to go to the East. East free LeBron for the first time in a long time, but the Raptors look more for real than in recent years, and albeit that's thanks to Kawhi Leonard and a bevy of other players that are there. How afraid should the league be of the Raptors?
I think they should be very afraid of the Raptors. When you look at the Raptors, I think their record without Kawhi Leonard what, 7-1 or 8?
Yeah, and they're almost a better team, right?
Yeah, so I'm gonna say they're 7-1, 8-1 without Kawhi Leonard. But not only that, when you look at it, they're winning those games by an average of about 16, 17 points. So they're not squeaking by without Kawhi Leonard. They're literally blowing teams out without Kawhi Leonard. Then you add Kawhi Leonard, who's still widely regarded as one of the 5 best basketball players.
He had to remind everyone. He's reminded everyone, right?
But I think that, Kawhi Leonard was just a huge upgrade from DeMar DeRozan. I think they're playing with a lot more energy, a lot more passion. I definitely think they should be scared of this. The league definitely should be put on notice and scared of this Raptors team. Obviously, championships, they're just going to go through the Warriors. They're going to go through Oracle. They're going to go through Oakland, California. But I just really like the Raptors' depth, the way they can score, the versatility on offense, and the ability to switch everything on defense. I think we've seen that's the one thing that can get the Warriors in trouble. The Rockets were able to do it a little bit in the playoffs last year.
Right.
When you have a lot of lanky, athletic, tall guys that can switch in and out on KD.
Yeah, be aggressive and play defense.
I still think the Warriors, it's their championship to lose, but I could definitely see the Raptors causing some potential problems and kind of having a slugfest series with the Warriors.
Let's move it to the NFL, John, with the NFC and AFC playoff picture. I want to start with the AFC. The Juggernaut Patriots aren't on top of it as we've been used to seeing. I want to start with the Chiefs at being the first seed, the Texans at 10-4 as the second seed. The Patriots come in at third, and the Steelers, albeit the Steelers did just defeat the Patriots 17-10. They are the fourth seed with the Chargers and Ravens behind them. What team stands out the most to you in the AFC picture?
In the AFC picture right now, the team that stands out most to me, and this may be a surprise, but I'm gonna have to say the Chargers.
Okay.
And the reason I say the Chargers is, I think they're not getting a lot of respect that they deserve because they're a wild card team right now, but they have the same record as the Chiefs. So they could still end up being, they're the 5th seed right now, they could still end up being the 1 seed.
Yeah.
So I just think that look what you're able to spend. I mean, they have star power on every level. Derwin James, who's the Cowboys, we're 2 picks away from getting in the draft. He looks like the defensive rookie of the year. He already looks like a top 5 safety in the league. Obviously, you got Phillip Rivers, who's playing his best football of his career, especially his most efficient football. I think he only has 8 interceptions this year. I think he has multiple touchdown passes in every game, but 1 this year. You got Keenan Allen, who is a star on the outside. Bill Williams and Mike Williams are very serviceable receivers. Hunter Henry may come back, which would be a huge boost for them, but Antonio Gates has been playing well at the tight end position. Melvin Gordon is probably the most underrated running back in the league. I think he's definitely.
But tell me something, John. While we're singing praises for the Chargers, I still believe when it's all said and done that if the Patriots are still in it, that we need to be watching out for Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, though they may seem more vulnerable than yesteryear.
No, I definitely think that the Patriots are the team to look out for, but they just haven't been too good on the road this year. And they just look vulnerable. This is the first time we've seen the Patriots look this vulnerable. Obviously, you can never count out Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. But when I look at who can threat in the AFC, when I look at who could win a game on different levels, that's the Chargers. Like I said, he's one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the league. You got Joey Bosa and Melvin Ingram coming off, 2 of the best pass rushers.
Yeah.
Casey Hayward, one of the best corners in the league. Like I said, Derwin James is playing outstanding in that second picture. And I think Anthony Lynn is just a bit of fire to them. Like you can really see it the way they just go for 2. But in the season, he said I didn't cover your side. We're going to win. Playing with that swagger. I think a lot of the AFC teams should be there.
Okay, I don't wanna. While we're talking about the AFC, I don't want to disrespect Indianapolis. We seem to have lost John for a minute. I just wanted to tell him I don't want to be the guy that ends up disrespecting the Indianapolis coach. We're going to try to get him on again right quick. The Colts could they sneak into the playoffs somehow? Let's say their only hope really is the Baltimore Ravens faltering, but they're right behind them. So if they manage to somehow still sneak in, I think the Colts could be a viable threat to everyone in the AFC. John, are you with me? Okay, we're going to go try to get John back, everyone. When we return here on Spot on Sports, we'll continue our coverage over the AFC and NFC playoff picture. This is Spot on Sports, where we're not just accurate, but spot on. As soon as I get John back on the phone, we're going to get him on. Right back at it here with Spot on Sports. We got John back on the line. John, sorry about that, man. Picking up where we left off, I said I didn't want to talk about the AFC playoff picture without disrespecting the Colts team that did shut out the Dallas Cowboys. If Andrew Luck, who we thought the arrow was down for him in the beginning of the season after starting off 1-5, if they hop into this AFC playoff picture, how much of a threat could they be?
I think the Colts can be a huge threat. You saw the Cowboys one of the hottest teams in football. Although I thought the Cowboys came out flat. I mean, anytime you can shut out a playoff team like that, they're playing really well. Obviously, Andrew Luck is still, a top 5 to 6 quarterback in this league. I think Frank Wright, as an offensive play caller, is doing a great job invigorating that offense. That offensive line is playing like a top 5 offensive line in football right now. And that defense has been one of the hottest defenses in football. They don't have a lot of names on it.
Right.
They've been playing like one of the best defensive teams in football over the last 7 to 8 weeks. So if the Colts sneak in the playoffs, it's definitely a team I don't think anybody can play at home or on the road.
Let's get to the NFC. Saints sit at 12-2 and first. As the first seed, the Rams are 11-3. The Bears at 10-4. The Cowboys at 8-6, and behind them are the Seahawks and Vikings 8-6, 7-6-1 respectively. Okay. A couple weeks ago, we saw teams like the Rams and Saints blowing out guys by 30 points and 40 points and putting up these astounding offensive numbers. Now we kind of creep on towards the end of the season. It's a bit of a struggle for Sean McVay and the Rams, as well as Drew Brees and the Saints. Why is that, John?
Well, I think when you get into December, you're getting some more of that grinded out football. When you look at the Saints and when you look at the Rams, they're more of a finesse team. You know what I mean? They like to do a lot of the cute stuff, a lot of the motions, a lot of stuff. When in December, teams have film on you. They've been watching you for 10 to 8 weeks now. So all those little motions, all those little tricks and gadgets, they've kind of caught up to you, and it's about who's going to play the best defense, who's going to play smash mouth football, and who's going to limit the turnovers.
Right.
And we've seen the Rams and the Saints, they kind of come back down to earth a little bit. So I think that's just what it's about. You're getting some more of that smash mouth. Defenses have caught up to you. They've seen you on film, and they kind of know what you do. I think Jared Goff, especially with the Rams, Jared Goff hasn't looked great in the last 3 weeks. I think he has about 7 interceptions.
Yeah, he's been turning over the ball.
And I think losing Cooper Kupp was a huge loss.
It's hurt them.
But I've always said it. I think the Rams run a very simplistic offense. They run a lot of, 11 personnel, 3 receivers, 1 tight end, and 1 running back. And everything they do is pretty much based off of Todd Gurley. It's a lot of play action. It's a lot of, motion and doing different things. But at the root, they really want to run the ball with Todd Gurley and then kill you on a play action with a lot of crossing routes on the back end. But I think the way the teams have been defending them lately has been they've been putting a lot of pressure on them and preventing them to get comfortable and doing what they want to do. And we've seen Jared Goff, where we thought he was developmentally, we may have seen now that Sean McVay may have been hiding some of his deficiencies because they've been very
so and Jeff Fisher may have been right about a couple of things.
Yeah. So now Jared Goff is starting to look, kind of like he did that first year with Jeff Fisher. As far as the Saints, they haven't been able to dominate up front like they were previously. Their offensive line was playing lights out, when they had that 11-10 game win streak. I think Drew Brees had only been sacked 10 times. But the Cowboys kind of provided the blueprint on how to stop them. They really don't have too many playmakers. If you can double Michael Thomas in the back end and limit what Kamara does out of the backfield, you can kind of make the Saints look how they've looked the past 3 weeks. So I think it just goes to show there's a lot of parity in the NFL right now. There's not really one just dominant team where we can say who can go out there and any given week and beat anybody. So I think it's a really good time in the NFL right now, and all of these teams that were dominant at first are starting to look human, and it's setting up for a really exciting and intense playoff push.
We got John on from Caesar's Corner right now. Really, really quick. I know you're a busy man and with a busy schedule, and you want to enjoy the rest of your night. Before we get into the little Cowboys talk, I gotta touch on the 10-4 Bears. No one wants to go to Soldier Field to play this team, driven by a defense in Khalil Mack. And the team that can make plays with Matt Nagy, they just fit up the division using their rendition of Andy Reid and the Chiefs offense. The Bears, I think the Bears are a real threat to go to the Super Bowl.
I think the Bears are really good. When you look at their defense, obviously they have the best defense in the league. Just personnel-wise and the way that they're playing, they can beat you on all levels of the defense. You got a Team Hicks and Khalil Mack on the defensive line. You got linebackers like Andy Trevathan and Roquan Smith, and then in the back end, you got playmakers like Eddie Jackson and Fuller. What concerns me about the Bears offense, that's what concerns me, and I think that's what's going to limit them from being able to go to the Super Bowl. Jordan Howard, he's a nice back, but he hasn't been as dominant as he was in his first 2 years. I think he had a 1,000 yards his first couple of years. He hasn't been much of a factor this year. Tariq Cohen, he's a nice back out of the backfield, but I think he can be limited as well. Mr. Trubisky, they're in a one-read offense. I think Mr. Trubisky, Matt Nagy has done a great job of limiting or kind of hiding Mr. Trubisky.
Right.
But I think a lot of times Mr. Trubisky just resorts to being a runner. You're not going to be able to do that in the playoffs. They're going to find him in the playoffs to be able to take that away. But he's going to have to be a true playmaker in the playoffs. There's going to come a time where that defense is going to be on the field a lot, or they're going to give up, some points, and Mr. Trubisky's going to have to match what the other offense is doing. And I just don't see that offense right now. I know Matt Nagy has made it very simplified. He's made it into a college offense so that Mr. Trubisky can flourish. But all of that one read, and if my one read's not there, I'm just going to take off and run. That's not going to be able to work in the playoffs when teams take away what you do best. So I think that's going to end up limiting them. They are a great team, and I think they can definitely win a lot of low-scoring games. But I think eventually with all of these high-powered offenses, there's going to come a time where Mr. Trubisky's going to have to win a game for you, and I don't know if he's ready to do that.
John, these cardiac Cowboys, man. Me and you were probably on the phone at least once a week talking about these guys, talking about Dak Prescott and Jason Garrett and so and so. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not upset that they didn't score against the Colts. I think it's easy to rest on your laurels after an incredible 5 games like they've had against some pretty stout teams. Okay, they did beat Atlanta, they beat Philadelphia, they did beat the Saints. So to go and lay an egg out in Indianapolis is expected. Do we expect them not to score? No, but what we did see was the offense was definitely exposed, and all of those inconsistencies showed up on Sunday. The Cowboys have a chance to right the ship against Tampa Bay to wrap up the NFC East. Can they do it? Or are we in for another wild ride in the Week 17 with a matchup against the New York Giants in the Meadowlands?
For the Cowboys taking for me your health, I hope they're able to take this. But I think they will. I mean, if you never want to kind of like fall backwards into the playoffs or look like this going into the playoffs. I had a feeling that they were going to lose to the Colts. Obviously, I didn't think they would look like that. But I also think that them not scoring any points was overblown. If you look at it, the initial field goal was blocked. So that's 3 points that we probably would have had. And then, you come back, with your aggressive play call. And I do think Scott Linehan has been mixing it up a little bit lately. I like that kind of 3rd and 1 bootleg where you fake it to Zeke, you come around and you throw it to the fullback. Nobody's expecting that. The fullback has to make that play.
Right.
That's a touchdown that he dropped. You know what I mean? And that kills the momentum of the whole team. Not to mention they dominated us on the ground. I think Marlon Mack had about 140 rushing yards.
Marlon Mack, John. Marlon Mack. Out of all folks. Marlon Mack.
They clearly went in there saying we're going to stop Andrew Luck and just completely disregard that they had running backs at all. So, we're used to the Cowboys doing something like that, especially when they didn't have anything to play for. But I think that, to see the defense come back and make a concerted effort. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers really don't have a running game to stop. It's just kind of Jameis Winston putting it in the air. And I think that plays for the Cowboys defense. I think also kind of, with Bucky and Sean Lee back in that kind of chemistry a little bit. You're used to kind of late Vendress.
Right.
Being those dogs on the defense. And late Vendress had to sit out and play, let Sean Lee get in. So I think that kind of affected the mortality as well, But like I said, they should be able to take care of business at home for a different team at home. I believe we're 6-1 this year at home.
Yep.
I could be mistaken. So I think they'll be able to take care of business against a flailing Tampa Bay team and go ahead and get into the playoffs.
And John, last question, I'll let you go. Where does the Cowboys stack up with the rest of the teams in the NFC playoffs?
That's a tough question. And it's hard for I got to try to answer that objectively. I think that we have the formula to win some games at home or on the road. We still have Ezekiel Elliott, the league's leading rusher, and we have a top 5 defense. And anytime you can do that this time of year, you can beat anybody. The problem is, just our red zone struggles, they're going to come back to bite us in our inconsistency at quarterback. We have these 10 play, 13 play drives, and we always beat teams on time of possession. But the problem is, we're going to be playing offenses in the playoffs that we can go 13 plays. 81 yards, we score a field goal, they come back with 4 plays and score a touchdown.
Yeah.
So you can't beat everybody by just taking up most of the time of possession and beating them by a field goal. So I think that we have the pieces to where we can compete with most teams. But I think unless we get more consistent quarterback play and unless we to come dominant in the red zone like we were in 2016. Now it's kind of like we get to the red zone and we don't know what to do. If we can't fix those, then I don't think we'll go far. I think we can win our first game at home, just because we've been so great at home this year.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
If we don't get those red zone struggles fixed, and we don't get 2016 Dak Prescott, then I think we'll be in trouble when we go on the road as well.
This is John, everyone, with Caesar's Corner. John, your fantasy team, you good in your PPR league, man?
Man, fantasy team, man. Championship this weekend. Y'all pray for me, call guys. That's the name of my fantasy team. I'm going to need y'all to call guys for me, literally. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, we're looking good. Championship this weekend, you know, so, you know, we should be able to take care of business, hopefully. You know, I didn't mean to come this far to lose, so.
There we go, man.
You know.
John, man, you enjoy the rest of your night, man. I definitely appreciate you calling as you. It was John at Caesar's Corner, my man out there in San Marcos, man. They living it up, John, man. We appreciate you. We'll hopefully talk to you next week.
Oh, yeah, it's all love. Anytime you need me, I'll be here.
Peace out, John. Talk to you.
All right, brother.
That was John at Caesar's Corner, everyone. He hit on a lot of good things. And I'll talk about the Cowboys to go out. They have to fix those inconsistencies on offense. When you get into the red zone and you act like you no longer know how to score. And I'm looking at this Cowboys offense. They're malignant coming up the field. 400 yards of offense after all of the games are over, but it doesn't translate on the scoreboard. You're winning games at 17 points, it's 20 points or whatever the score is, and it's just not enough. Dak Prescott, and we heard Jerry Jones say, hey, I'm going to sign this guy to an extension. That's $20 million and no more than that. That's $20 million. Like, this guy, his fumbles have been absurd, and he knows he needs Zeke. It's just a blessing that Amari Cooper has come into this point in the season. But if the Cowboys are going to compete with teams like the Bears, they're going to compete with teams like LA, if they go to LA, or if they go to New Orleans, because New Orleans is going to be pissed because of the 13-10 losses they suffered down here at AT&T Stadium. They're going to be pissed, and they're going to be ready to put up points on a Cowboys team. And then they know that they can rattle Dak Prescott enough. And I didn't get to ask John about the offensive line issues the Cowboys are facing, but I think that's a bigger problem than what a lot of people think. The fact that that you had your left guard Zach Martin have to sit out. Travis Frederick already isn't there. Suafilo had to leave the game, so you had this Adam Redmond kid step in, and he's trying to win. Aside from the Cowboys being flat. They got real issues coming up. Hopefully they get healthy. We see they get Tavon Austin back. Sean Lee is coming back, but Sean Lee will be now sitting on the back end, taking a backseat to Leighton Vander Esch and Jalen Smith. Hopefully David Irving can return from that high ankle sprain he suffered weeks ago. But the Cowboys have a lot of things they need to fix coming into the playoffs. He's right. John's right. They get a divisional game, they probably win. Even if it is Seattle or the Vikings. But what happens when you have to go to New Orleans and it's too loud and the calls and everything aren't coming through like they're supposed to? Can Dak Prescott pull out the clutch gene again to win the game? Do you trust your defense for 3 games straight in the playoffs to be able to ward off teams like Russell Wilson and the Seahawks? Or Jared Goff and the Rams? Luckily for them that these same offenses are having issues. Had this been these 30-point teams coming into the playoffs, the Cowboys would be one and done. And I know a lot of Cowboy fans are tired of seeing this team get in and in and in after all of these average seasons. Thank God Aaron Rodgers isn't in it this time. So now it's just who else is going to knock the Cowboys off the soapbox. I think the game against Indianapolis, I'm going to call it a wake-up call. A lot of these media guys and reporters say, well, hey, you don't need a game to be able to lose to wake you up and so on and so on. So yes, you do. Sometimes you do. Sometimes you need to get hit in the mouth to realize, oh, we're not as good as we thought we were. The Saints probably realized that. LA probably realized that, especially after they lost to Chicago. It's okay to take a loss sometimes. Like I said, getting shut out, no, that's so ugly. I said that watching, I was like, oh, the Cowboys can't get shut out. It can't happen. Don't get shut out. Fix these inconsistencies. Fix them going into the playoffs. You have to be able to keep pace with the rest of these teams. That is important. But that doesn't just go for the Cowboys. It goes for everyone else too. Because like I said, the Rams and Saints aren't putting up these 30-point games like they used to. Now they kind of get brought back down to the level of Chicago and the Bears. Lo and behold, something happens where Seattle sees LA again. They're not getting away from them a third time. I can promise you that. Russell Wilson lost both of those games by a hair. And not getting away from it. LA is not getting away from those guys again. That concludes my show, guys. We thank you for watching SOS Nation podcast as a part of Spot on Sports. Please, this will be on our YouTube channel soon. Comment, rate, subscribe, drop us a like. We would definitely appreciate it. Shout out to John, man. He came on and hit the nail right on the head, and I looked handsome listening to him. So this is powered by Giggly's Compete Conquer. Shout out Danny Martin. Shout out the team, man. Shout out the SOS team. B-Walk, Bruce T, Sakari, Devondria. All of those guys, love all those guys, man, doing big things. Catch us at the Cowboys and Buccaneers game. We will be there, hopefully being able to get your interviews with the players. Hey, you stick around long enough, we might be able to surprise you guys with a couple of interviews and stuff. Let's get into the spirit of Christmas with Spot on Sports and 4 Oak Cliff as we prepare for our toy drive. It is not too late to donate any unopened toys, everyone. Please donate to the cause that SOS is trying to do. December 21st, 4 Oak Cliff is doing a skate party for the kids. We just want to get these unopened toys so that these kids can have a good Christmas. It's also a coat drive as well. Please give us your coats that you're not wearing no more, that your kid never put on. Those toys that sit in the toy chest that they never open. Go to the store, go to Five Below. Just get a little something to help us out and get these kids a Merry Christmas. This is Spot on Sports, the new wave of sports that is sweeping the nation, and we hope that everyone did enjoy the show. I'm Tony Monk, your host, and I will be back next week.